What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that was just released on VOD recently, and I'm very happy that it was released on VOD because I have been hearing buzz about this movie for quite some time now through the festival circuits that it's hit, a lot of the screenings that have been done around the US surrounding it, and it really got me excited to check this out. It also stars Tim Heidecker, who's one of my personal heroes, but aside from that, the premise of this movie sounded absolutely fascinating, and the whole idea of this film surrounds DC characters. And I know the creator of this, Vera Drew, that it was difficult to get this put out because she had to, obviously, she probably had to fight a ton of copyright stuff with DC to manage not to get sued. I can only imagine the amount of things that happened to get this movie produced. But I was really excited about it, heard a lot of people say a lot of incredible things surrounding it, and the movie I'm going to be discussing with you today is The People's Joker. The People's Joker is directed by Vera Drew. A law-breaking comedian grappling with her gender identity forms a new anti-comedy troupe with a friend and finds herself battling a fascistic caped crusader. So, as I said, I was very excited to watch this movie, and this movie is awesome. Just watching this movie makes me really excited to see independent film being released that comes from such a deeply personal place, that has such a solely unique vision, executed in the way that the director wanted it to be executed. It's so unique and different than really anything I've seen all year long. And a lot of the success of this movie is going to be how much of the comedy lands for you and whether or not the style works. But I think regardless of whether or not specific things work for you, that if you can't go into this movie and respect just the love and care that was clearly put into every single frame of this movie, I don't really know what to say to you. But I'm really excited to talk about this film today. So Vera Drew, the director, plays Joker the Harlequin, who is giving us essentially her story from her youth until where she is now. And we get kind of this origin story of this character and growing up and going through transition and the process of feeling like you were born in the wrong body and going through this transitionary period, but utilizing characters from the DC universe to be an allegory for the story. And so we're in Gotham City, we see Smallville, we see all different characters, the Penguin, the Riddler, Catwoman, Batman, all of these characters come into play. And my favorite part about the film is that they villainize Batman, which I thought was really hilarious. And it's very much a subversion on what you would think from a normal like superhero story, and it's much less of like a traditional type of like anti-hero narrative and much more of, it seems like Vera really just living her truth, showcasing what it was like to grow up and get to a point where you realize that you are trans and that you want to go through that transitionary period and all of the circumstances surrounding that and the people who enter your life and who impact you and the relationship between your parents. And it has a very deeply beautiful, dramatic core while also being very hilarious and culturally relevant. So like I said, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. And for starters, Vera's performance in this is fantastic. She has so many incredible one-liners in this and so many fantastic moments where it just feels so poignant and relevant to the current times that we live in. And there's a lot of shots at different, the entire film feels like a shot at SNL, which I really liked. There's a lot of like direct references to specific media and music, things that are a part of Vera's life that she wanted to kind of just like point the finger at and make a joke about. And I can appreciate that a lot. And not all of the humor necessarily landed for me personally, but like even if a joke didn't stick the landing, I still respected where it was going. And I think her performance is really what makes the movie so captivating and interesting to watch. And there are a ton of characters, obviously, like I said, from the DC universe brought in, whether that be played by real actors or like completely and totally animated. It just depended on the circumstance, but I really liked how absurd the visual presentation is. And I mentioned the fact that Tim Heidecker was in this movie, and there are a lot of moments in this that feel like they could have been directly pulled from an episode of Tim and Eric, which is the highest compliment that I can pay someone, because Tim and Eric really influenced me from a very young age. Their comedy comedy resonated with me in my teenage years and into my adult life. And so it was really cool to see something that reflected that. Even like David Liebe Hart from Tim and Eric was in this movie, which was so cool to see him in something different. And there's so many incredible, talented performers that are in this film. And it was so much fun to watch Vera get all of these really amazingly talented people to play these really silly roles. Like Tim plays like the Alex Jones character in the movie, which I just thought was absurd and really hilarious. And I love the visual style of this movie. Like I said, it's interesting because it's not shot traditionally at all. There's so many different mixes of like green screen with different forms of animation. There's like really cheap looking, almost like PS1 animated characters. There's like more modern animation. There's hand-drawn animation. And I can only imagine the level of time it took to do these different sequences, but to have them blend together to make an effective story. But I think what makes the movie works with all of those different visual styles is Vera's narration and like kind of taking you from point A to point B, and then utilizing these characters from the DC universe to kind of be symbolic of things in Vera's life and in things that we see in our day-to-day existence now. I mean, Batman's character is an abuser. He's a wealthy, manipulative, awful human being, which I thought was a really funny direction to take the Batman character. We have the Joker character that looks more like the Jared Leto Joker, which is a trans male character who ends up being like emotionally manipulative and really kind of plays the role of like the I want to love you, but at the same time I'm going to make everything about me. And I thought that was really interesting to incorporate a character like that who is going through a very similar experience to Vera's character, but not approaching it in a way that makes a lot of sense, and being making it all about you and being emotionally manipulative and wrong. And I think like having characters that have that level of depth despite being represented by DC branded characters was really cool. And I think what I liked so much about this movie is it is absurd, it's ridiculous, it will make you laugh, but it also is grounded dramatically in a way that I feel like represents the experience of a trans person in a way that anyone can understand. The conversations that are being had surrounding transness and like families' inability to understand that experience and to relate with a person who is going through that. It's just really well done. And I thought that a lot of the dramatic beats, I didn't expect them to land as heavy as they did because of how comedic most of the film is, but they landed really well. And the third act goes in a completely and totally unhinged direction that I wasn't expecting. But I had a smile on my face through most of this movie. I love seeing a creator that sets out for an idea, creates that idea, and does it in a way that is so unabashedly them. And you can just feel Vera's personality live through every scene of this movie. And that's the highest compliment that I can pay. And I think you should 100% support this movie on VOD if any of this sounds interesting to you. Obviously, as I said, a lot of the movie is going to hinge on whether you enjoy Vera's narration style, whether you can appreciate a lot of the comedy that's brought forth. But I think even if one or both of those elements don't work completely for you, you have to completely and totally respect the vision and the way that this was accomplished, especially with the budget that the movie had. And I'm really looking forward to watching this again. I feel like it's something that just over time I'm going to grow to appreciate more. So if you've seen The People's Joker, did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was incredibly entertaining. It's so wholly unique, and it is completely and totally worth your time. I love seeing movies being made about the trans experience, and I think this one is great to add into the list of some of my favorites. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.